We really believe if you give kids an opportunity and you give them hope, and that's the one thing that we see most in these communities where you have a lot of problems is a lack of hope. Focusing on communities, utilizing existing services. We think there's enough money being spent. It's just a matter of taking those, and literally the word focus, and focusing those resources in places together, bringing all these service agencies together and using them more effectively. When we put together all this data, what we found, which was really interesting to us, is that 1% of the addresses in Giles County were utilizing 25% of the services. 5% were utilizing 55% of the services. So, you know, that's a manageable number of people to deal with to try to help. And so we said, you know, let's try with the 1% first. The first thing we do is we go in and interview folks in a community when we identify it. And we literally go door to door. And through that process, you learn a lot. And then we sit down and talk with the agencies who are already working in the communities individually. And we find out where they think the issues are and what's needed in the community. And then we get them all together. And we kind of approach from a standpoint of, here are the people living here, and here are the issues that they have, and so now how are we going to solve these problems?
We have an incredibly high rate of child abuse in our county, child abuse and child neglect. So some of us who feel a real strong commitment to this really beautiful and energetic county tried to figure out where we could make the biggest difference.
If you're looking at a need for enhanced education, or if you're looking at the need for physical health, or if you're looking at the need for better economic prosperity, there is no separation. They're all tied together. And when you're able to address the issues within a community, the root causes, and there's not just one at any point, but when you're able to address those with all the resources in the network, everybody in the community wins.
The advantage that Focus has is the scope. There's so many different organizations. Like I said, there's dozens, and there's hundreds of people involved. The skills and abilities of those hundreds of people networking together just multiplies the effectiveness they can have on the community.
And everyone gathers around the table with the same motive, that we want to effect really positive change. We want to raise the culture of this incredibly beautiful county, and the county administrators, the people who work in the county, have a real commitment.
You'll be in the middle of a conversation with one of the presenters, for example, or somebody will say during agency updates, anybody know? And somebody from across the table will say, oh, we can take care of that. And it just goes back and forth. It happens before the meeting, during the meeting, after the meeting, and then when they're at home with their own agency. So there's a huge amount of interaction between the network members, and that's what we hope to see accomplished.
We've done 2 communities, and you never complete, right? So it's not like the process just stops, but our resources are limited in what we can do as a staff. So the idea is that the county comes in with these service agencies and we really focus on a community, and it's taken about 2 years in each one. An important aspect of this is the police. They have to be involved. They do a really great community policing model. The town of Harrisburg and our sheriff's department work together. The idea is to go out and get to know the kids, so the kids know the police, and to develop relationships with them. They had bike rodeos. They brought in bicycles for kids. They brought in helmets for kids. And they got to know these young people very well. They developed a level of trust. And it doesn't take long until the bad guys decide they don't want to live there anymore, quite frankly. And they move out because there's too much of a police presence. There's too many good things going on in that community. We have a principal in our system who went out. He said, you know, I think I know a way to reach these kids anyway. He went out and set a chair in a cul-de-sac, and he took a box of ice cream, and he would sit down and start reading a book with that box of ice cream sitting there beside of him. And kids would come out and they'd eat ice cream, he'd read a book to them. And when you've got people in the community doing that, taking their own time, and then from that, literacy volunteers jumped in, and there was a lot of reading. We put a little library there, which is a place where kids can come and check out books. We've had thousands and thousands of dollars donated to try to improve these communities. We're sitting in a playground right now where we had $24,000 in private donations to build a playground. You know, that didn't happen prior to Focus, and quite frankly, it probably didn't happen because we weren't as in tune as we should be to what the needs really were.
Celanese has hundreds of employees with all kinds of talents. There's people there, people and resources that can really do anything. So when those people put their energy into something, they'll get it done, and they do it very well. And you know, it's a credit to Celanese to make those resources available, to let people off of work to volunteer their time and get things done like that.
We have some incredible stories that have come out of these communities. We have kids that are doing amazing things that you know, you really can't put a dollar figure on. What's the value of a kid coming out of one of these communities who's now at Virginia Tech on a full ride in microbiology?
There are components that we run within the county that are part of the Focus umbrella. You know, for instance, I know Chris mentioned the young lady who's now at Virginia Tech on a full scholarship. She's one of the graduates that came out of our summer youth work program. There's a line on the application at the school that says, what types of jobs would you be interested in this summer? And Emily wrote, anything to do with biology or microbiology. We worked the network. Again, it's the network. And we were able to place Emily in a research laboratory with some of the doctors at Virginia Tech. She spent the summer as a 16-year-old working on researching the Zika virus and the herpes virus. Her family didn't have a reliable vehicle that could get her back to forth and Tech every single day. So we were able to work the network, and we found folks. We got her to a spot in Giles. Somebody else who worked at Tech took her to Tech, and the doctor and her family let Emily stay in their home during the course of the summer program. She came home on weekends. She saw a life that was totally different.
40 minutes away, this amazing opportunity, this whole other world is there, and those kids didn't realize it was there. And so there's a lot of programming that backs up what we're doing. The Access to Community College Education program guarantees these kids, when they come out, they've got 2 years of college paid for. And we preach that from the time they're in the 6th grade. You've got to keep your GPA up, you can go to college. In the communities where we've started Focus, over a 2-year period, we saw anywhere from a 40 to a 70% decrease in crime statistics, in calls for service, whether that be police, fire, EMS, DSS, people going through the court system. This coming weekend, we have a Thrive is the acronym that's been given to it. And it's a feeding program where we're going to try to feed in 10 different locations lunch to anyone who wants it, and just trying to address food security problems. It has nothing to do with the Focus communities, although we'll be feeding in those communities, but that's been born out of those relationships. You're dealing with a lot of people who have a lot of passion, and they are giving people hope.